What's going on, big brother?
I
How you
can't hear
doing
you,
today?
man. I can't hear you.
Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on. Let me see here. What about now? Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you, dude. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah, your mic look like it's muted. It shows on. Yeah, now you should be able to. I should be able to hear you. What can you say anything now? It's muted
What
now.
What about now?
Do you have your volume turned up?
Yeah, let me
I
can you hear me now?
can't hear you, man.
Okay, hold on one second.
There's something going on.
Okay, one second.
Okay, something.
What about
Can you hear
now?
me though?
I can hear you.
You're yeah, you're mute.
Okay, let me come back and try to come back on.
I can't hear you. Hey everybody, thank you for looking at Adults Only. I am Jahi, and Chaz having some technical difficulties. He's trying to come back on. Maybe we'll be able to pick him up. Can you say something now?
Testing 1 2.
Okay, now we can hear you. Man, what are you doing over
Yeah,
there, man?
this is the second week. I think there's a boogeyman under here because
No.
2 weeks in a row. I know how to use a computer, but it's something going on. How you feeling today, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to go. But we're still talking about growing old versus growing up. Isn't that something?
Yeah, for another week, like I said, because all of us, this applies to myself as well. There are always rules and things that we need to listen to grow older. Because, like I said, as adults, a lot of us act like children. We're very immature, and like you said a couple weeks ago, we're not taking this stuff seriously. So I think it is important that we hash this out again.
Well, let me say something real quick and then we'll get started. This broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We really appreciate you tuning in, but we want you to know that we try to do subjects that's going to be related to what we're going through and growing old versus growing up. We're going to do this probably one more week, even though we know that Black History Month starts next week, but we'll probably have to do one more week because I know we're not going to finish with all the notes that we have today. So this is going to be a spirited broadcast. And once again, we thank all of you for tuning in to this adults only broadcast with myself and Chaz. So take it away, Chaz. Let's do it.
Okay, let me go ahead. My little computer here. Let me get to the first one. Okay, here we go. Oh no, I'm sorry. We start off with this. How do adults grow up? That's just a little monologue here. And then as we go to the first one, it says self-discipline, doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I'll rehash this out again. Going to work, because a lot of us were tired, we're grumpy in the morning, it's cold outside, when lay in the bed, watch TV, do all these things, but it's important for us to get up and go to that bed. Some people live in states where all that snow is piling up. A lot of us don't want to go to these jobs. A lot of us don't want to get our kids ready for school. A lot of us just don't want to do these things, but they have to be done, because if they don't, you're going to fall behind on all these bills. Then you're going to be sitting there looking stupid. So I think for me, the main point I want to hit about, it's working. I know a lot of us don't want to, but we have to, even when we don't feel like it.
And that's one of the signs of an immature person. I mean, the broadcast, again, on the crawl, we normally would see it says growing old versus growing up. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about how we as a people should grow up, because we're growing old, but we're not growing up. And that's the problem. So self-discipline is very important, because you have to do what needs to be done. And no one should have to stand over you or
Right,
stand over me and tell us what to do every day. As
right,
adults, we should automatically be doing what we should do to help our community, to help our families, and to even help ourselves, because a lot of us, we don't even help ourselves. And yes, I think there's something wrong with us as a people.
right,
There's something wrong with us to the degree that we don't even know how to grow up. And
right.
that's sad when someone has to basically wind us up to tell us what we have to do, like you put on the screen here, the self-discipline. Now I was going to ask you on the crawl, the crawl, doesn't it, isn't it supposed to be going constantly? The ticker, it's the ticker is what I'm asking. The very first one, it should say ticker.
Let me see here.
If it doesn't, we'll just go ahead with it, but it should be something that's going across the bottom. Okay, if it doesn't, don't worry about it. But go ahead and let's see what you put on there, and why did you put that up there? What is that?
Self-discipline looks like a young lady that's in karate. She's training her body to exercise. She's training herself. Hey, I have to keep myself in motion because if I don't, I'm going to get high cholesterol, high diabetes, or a lot of health ailments. So she's figuring out in karate, they train you and teach you a lot of these things as far as on how to keep your body moving. I don't know if you have anything to add. If you
Yeah, I
want
want to add something to that because this young lady is working out, and that's another area of our life that I think we need to be more aware of. You know, a lot of us are just out of shape. We're not doing anything to basically make our bodies last longer. We talk about it, Chaz, but see,
to,
again, immaturity will talk about it, but adults will be about it. And this
right.
is why it's important that we take this seriously because for many years, we've played with this, and now look at what it's done to us. Now we're older, but we're acting like little children because we're doing the same thing, but we don't see any kind of growth mentally, spiritually, psychologically, educationally. And that's a sad state to be in, I'd say.
Yep, and like I said, this sister is disciplined here because she knows there are days where she's going to be tired, and maybe today on that picture she was tired, but she said, "You know what? I gotta fight through it. This karate class, maybe for an hour or two, but hey, I know I can get myself through it, and I'm going to fight through it even if I don't want to." I got a little bit behind here. We got a couple of comments that came in here. Want to welcome our guest in as always. We got Sister Barbara. She says, "Hotep, we appreciate her for logging in." Sister Marie fires in here. She says, Hotep family, we appreciate her. And then we got Sister Mashonda. She's in here. She says, Hotep brothers, we appreciate all three of you guys for logging in. And as we move on to the next one here, it's called Grow Tip. Feelings don't run your life, decisions do. And we need to talk about that because a lot of us make decisions on how we feel instead of making rational ones. Now, we all get upset, we all get frustrated, but instead of us saying, you know what, I'm not going to let my decisions, as far as my feelings, dictate to how I'm going to, respond in this situation. I don't care because how I feel is more important. And in fact, even if I'm feeling irrational, I don't care because most people feel like their feelings trump everything, and we got to make better decisions than that. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it comes down to we've never been taught how to use rationality. We've never been taught how to think. And so all of our lives, we've been living off of our emotions. So we base our decisions on how we feel. And
Right,
what you have is a whole lot of people that just live according to how they feel. And that's got to be a sad state to be in. But once again, Chaz, you can't tell adults anything, many of us,
right,
because we don't want to listen. We don't want to just go back to the basics and say, you know what? I need to not allow my feelings to dictate to me
right.
how to make decisions. But once again, as I keep saying, that growth tip is very, very crucial. And it's important because feelings shouldn't run our lives. But unfortunately, feelings do run our lives.
Yeah, and I would agree, brother. And to me, doesn't that sound not you, but a little kid? Kids do things out of feelings. They didn't feel like tying up their shoes, so they accidentally fell over and hurt themselves. Little kids talk and act like that, but we're 40, 50, 60-year-old adults here. And you mean to tell me that we keep getting caught up on feelings? Shame on society, and nobody's putting any pressure on them. And that's why this broadcast is here to do that, because this is ridiculous for us adults to still be responding like that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the same one here. We're going to move on to number 2. Emotional regulation. Managing emotions instead of letting emotions control behavior. I'll let you take that one. I'll just piggyback off of it.
Okay, because here's a crucial point that has to be made. We have to manage our emotions because we're going to always have these emotions that come up in our lives based upon what we're going through. But the managing part is the part that needs to be discussed. How do you manage and how do I manage my emotions when things don't go the way I want them to go?
Right.
How do we manage our emotions when we want to be up but we're down? How do we manage our emotions when people that's in our circles maybe turn against us or the
Mm,
children that we're around don't do what we want them to do? These are some excellent points, Chaz, that has to be discussed
right.
because most of us we don't know how to manage our emotions because we don't have a chance to sit down and say, wait a minute, I'm going to work on me. Now, I've heard that, A lot of the conscious community and the spiritual people, we always say, I'm working on me. But Chaz, in actuality, we're not really working on ourselves. We just say that because it sounds good.
Right. And I want to piggyback off what you just said here about, like you said, when things don't go our way, a lot of us, we cannot sit here and say, okay, they didn't respond the way they wanted, I wanted them to, but you know what? I'm going to be mild mannered. A lot of us blow our cool. We just lose it. We go off on the deep end. And a lot of us, not most, I mean, I'm sorry, most of us, this is why our blood pressure is always high, because we can't keep a calm demeanor. Everything is we're on the edge. We're waiting to explode. And that is not the way to be here.
You know, and
Uh,
the manager, I got to say this too, Chaz, because when you look at a manager manages. If something's out of whack, the manager puts it in control. But
right.
unfortunately, we don't do our emotions like that. So, notwithstanding, we're just people who live, and I think we've tricked ourselves for so many years, Chaz. We've
Yeah.
told ourselves that we are adults.
Right.
We've told ourselves that we're grown, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't put anything with that. And that's why a lot of us are struggling. And we know that we're acting like kids. We
Yeah.
don't do what we're supposed to do. We act like little children. We don't manage anything. So it
Mm-hmm.
manages us. And that's the sad part about it. When you got a 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old man or woman who can't manage anything. And so everything manages us. And then we fall apart in our old age. And this is why we act the way we act now.
Yeah, and I'm looking down here on my notes. It says emotions are temporary. High intensity emotions like anger, fear, euphoria can skew judgment and can lead to impulsive, regretted actions. And this happens a lot, like they said, in relationships where a man is maybe seen his girlfriend cheating or a wife caught the husband cheating or whatever. And instead of saying, you know what, I'm just going to let this go. We maybe need to split up. That's that. Normally, 90% of the times, especially in the African American community, the sister slashes the brother's tires, gets the brick, busts the guy's window out, or the guy goes to the girl's job, acts a fool, causing chaos, all kind of things. And this
Yeah.
goes back to what we're talking about on the screen here. Not even though we're frustrated at the other for cheating, we are getting let these emotions get the best of us, and we're all out of control. Would you
That's
agree?
well said. Yes, that's well said, Chaz. That's true.
We got a new person in the building. We haven't seen her in a long time. Ain't Nuji fires in here. She says, peace and blessings, fam. So we appreciate her for checking in. But yeah, brother, we gotta keep hitting these points home because this is out of control, man. It really is.
And that's why I'm glad we're going to bleed this over until next week. Although it's the start of Black History Month, we have to talk about how our ancestors, these points that we're making, this is how they became great because they were grown, Chad. They did grown things, but a lot of us we don't do grown things, and that's enough said on that. But you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Number three, ownership. Accepting that your life outcomes are connected to your choices. And that's a good one because some of us, we're letting these choices get the best of us. For example, I talked about this a lot. We, for example, get caught up, we do something stupid with the police, or we get pulled over, and 90% of the time, we were the ones speeding out of control. We were the ones, doing what those things called donuts in the parking lot. And when the police finds us and says, "Listen, officer, I was right." Sometimes these officers probably will let you go. They probably will let you off. But because you're sitting there giving them a hard time, cussing them out, talking about their appearance, they say, you know what? I was going to give this brother or sister a slap on the wrist. Since they got smart with me, I'm going to go ahead and give them a ticket or I'm going to put them in jail. That is, and we want to cry on social media, oh, the cops were tripping today because they pulled me over. No, if you would have acted like an adult, that probably would not have happened. Do you agree?
Yeah, we have too many just youth, Chaz. We have too many youth in grown people's bodies because this point here is very crucial. It says ownership. Accept that your life, the outcomes are connected to your choices. Everything that we do in this life, this is why our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, our uncles and aunts, this is why they've always tried to tell us little things because they were trying to teach us that what we do is going to affect us. But
Right,
see, we didn't want to hear it then, and we don't want to hear it now. And
right,
this is why a lot of our minds are just out of whack. And it's like no one wants to get help, Chaz. We
right.
talk about it, but a lot of us should be in some type of therapy. We really need to be because
Mm-hmm,
we're adults, but we act like little children.
mm-hmm,
Something happened to us that we weren't able to recover from. We never get help. And therefore, we spiral out of control and we
Mm,
become little kids, but
mm.
we think we're grown, but we're little children in our thinking because we don't want to own up to the fact that we have to accept that the things we do in this life, they're going to be connected to our choices, man, and they have consequences.
Well said. And I really can't say anything else after that because, like you said, with these consequences, there are consequences for most of the things we do. It's just that as adults, we don't want to accept those consequences that come with some of the stupid things that we do. Growth tip. If you don't like where you are, change what you do. Yeah, a lot of people, they complain about their jobs. I don't like this job. The manager is crappy. The pay is crappy. I don't have 401k. Well, you need to get your butt on the internet or go to some actual door-to-door buildings and put in some applications to get better. But sitting there complaining and crying and saying, you know what, I'm magically praying and hoping that this job gets better. It's not. So like this thing says, if you don't like what you do, you got to get your butt in action. You got to do something about it instead of sitting there hoping that this stuff just gets magically better.
How many years, Chaz, have you heard us say as a people, as adults? Be honest. How many years have you heard us say, I'm going to change my life? That's what I'm looking at. We don't like our lives, but we won't change what we're doing. So, what you find out is you find a group of people who are basically delusional. We think
Mm,
we think that we're a certain way, but the reality shows us we're not that way. And so this is why a lot of people don't want to engage in these types of discussions. Because if the truth be told, we all need to grow up, and that's all we're saying. Growing old, but we're not growing up. And no,
right,
everyone is not perfect, but this
right.
growth tip, if you want to grow up, this is a perfect tip for you and I, it's for all of us. If you don't like where you are, change what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of us, we just sit here. We want these things to magically come out of the sky, but we have to get our butts in action and we have to do something about it because, like you said, brother, you have to get yourself up and moving to get the ball rolling. As we go into the next one here, delayed gratification, choosing long-term benefits over short-term pleasure. And a lot of us, I keep going to the youth because I see a lot of it on YouTube and stuff. There's a lot of the youth, they love to go out to clubs and nightclubs, which that's fine. They want to go out. But which one is more important? Doing that or staying your butt in your dorm or staying in your room, studying and getting ready for class the next day because there's a high risk that something can happen when that when that young adult goes out to that nightclub. So these are the things that I would choose. That's called long-term benefits over short-term pleasure. It's easy to go get drunk. It's easy to go get high. It's easy to do these things that make us feel good, but the long-term benefits of it is better than actually, taking the cheap dopamine hit route. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, we're like little children in many instances. We don't choose what is called delayed gratification. See, we don't look at, okay, here's a situation. And
Mm-hmm.
if I choose this, it's going to take me longer, but it's going to help me out more. We are like little kids who want their lives like microwaves. They want to heat up things in 30 seconds and get it done. This is
Right.
what we do with our finances. This
Mm-hmm.
is what we do with our mentality. This
Mm-hmm.
is what we do with our faith. This is what we do with everything about us. And I'm saying that these tips, if we really look at these tips should help us immensely
Yeah.
because we have to start choosing long term benefit over short term pleasure. You go to the gym and you work out, you know that it didn't take you 5 days to get that weight on you. So you have to keep going because it took a long time to put it on you. But
Right.
because you want that instant gratification, you're complaining, I'm not going back to that gym. I've been going to this gym for 2 months and I don't see any change. But what you don't realize is your cardiovascular is working the way
Yeah.
it should be. So
Yeah.
what we have, Chaz, is a group of people, and I'm included. We have a group of people who are as crazy as a Betsy bug because you can't talk to us
Mm.
anymore.
And like you said, you preach it to the choir here about the gym thing. And like you said, even though you don't see as results in those 2 months, you still want to keep yourself active because you want to keep your health in check. Because the older you get, more things start to happen. And like you said, that's just a slippery slope you don't want to go down. Now, this one is a growth tip. Grown people wait, plan, and build. They don't rush for comfort. exactly like we just said, it's easy to take the dopamine hit, sit at home, watch Netflix, sit at home, stay on YouTube, sit at home, get on social media all day. But we have to plan for a better life. We have to plan for these things to happen because they're not going to actually, like I said, fall out of thin air. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, Chaz, because when is the last? Okay, think about this.
Okay.
When was the last time that you saw us as adults sit down and plan to do something that's important and that we knew it was going to take a long time? If it takes us a long time, we're going to say, I don't want to do it. I don't have time to wait. And I
Mm-hmm.
told you last week what I think it boils down to, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse from last week, but I definitely want to bring it up and throw it on the table real quick. A lot of us, Chaz, when we get older, we revert back to our childhood, not because our minds are leaving us, it's because we're afraid. We're afraid of what's going to happen, Chaz. When we close our eyes, we're afraid of what's
Mm.
to come, you see. And because
Wow.
we're afraid of that, this is our cop out. So we live like children because we don't want to face reality. And the reality is, we're all going to leave this place, but adults accept it the way they know it's going to happen. But kids run from it. They try to hide from it. They try to prolong it. And that's what you find you have in this society right now with us.
Yeah, and this last part, like you said, that rushing for comfort, and we all have. Here's the thing: we all have those days when we rush for comfort. I myself included. But it's a problem when it's 95 or 100% of the time where that's all we do. We're throwing everything else out. We got to go get that comfortability because that's all we think about, and that's not going to get us anywhere. In fact, it's going to do more harm than good. As we move on here, number 5, honesty, telling the
Uh-oh.
truth, especially when it exposes your flaws. Now I'll let you take that one because I'm loading up a little picture here on
Okay,
honesty.
okay. Now,
Go ahead.
Chaz, check this out. Kids lie all the time. When you nail a kid and you corner them, they're gonna lie because they don't want to tell the truth. But adults lie, and we shouldn't do that. Now, I'm telling you now, man, we have a serious problem in the African American community with
Yeah,
lying.
yeah.
When it exposes our flaws, we want everyone to think we're perfect. This is why I've told you in the past, and I'll tell you again. Right now, I struggle with having conversations with adults because we can't be honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some chicanery. There's always someone trying to make you think they got one up on you. They
Right,
always want you to think that they're better than they are. They don't
right.
ever want to say, I've been lying a lot. I got to stop that. They always want to tell you that everything is good, and yet you know that this is not true. And so this is the sign of an immature person, as tonight's subject is growing old versus growing up. And like Maya Angelou said last week, many of us, we grow old, man, but we never grow up.
Yeah, and we have to tell the truth. We all have times where you first of all, like you said, we shouldn't be lying, but we have to tell the truth because 90% of the time, if you keep living like that, no one's going to trust you. Whenever you say something, they're going to always question it. They'll go behind your back, fact check it. So it's like if you're not going to be honest, you might as well not even open your mouth because a lot of people just not going to want to believe you at all. And like I said, everything that you do, they're going to always second guess and question you. Here's a growth tip: lying keeps you stuck. Truth forces growth. Yeah, a lying does keep us stuck. I know, like you said earlier, we could easily look ourselves in the mirror and say, I got a six pack. I got the best body in all America. That's not the truth. We're getting older. We're gaining a little bit of weight. We're not working out. So that is a lie. And that's keeping you stuck. But the truth is, you know what? I'm older. I've gained a little weight. I do need to get a membership. I do need to go to the park. I do need to do these things and to keep, as far as to grow, because lying is keeping me stuck. I totally agree with you on that.
You know what I would like to see? I would love to see this. And we used to say it all the time. When we would confront our friends, we would ask them, before we start talking, we would say, can we have an honest discussion? Can we have an honest conversation? That's gone now, Chaz, because we can't. I can't believe the last time, and I'm talking about myself included, but I can't remember the last time I had a what they call an honest conversation where
Mm,
everything was on the up and up. Because everyone wants to make you think that they know more than they know, man.
Well said. Well said. Now, as we go to the next one here, humility, knowing you don't know everything and willing to learn. Now, I want to add this picture right here because I want to take humility a little step further. Now, this brother sees this young man is sad. He's depressed. Something has happened to this man, and he's saying, "Hey, bro, let me talk to you for a second. What's going on?" But see, a lot of us will look at this brother that's on the ground, pass him up. Oh, he's a grown man. I don't care. It ain't me. No, but this man is standing up. He's saying, "I got a heart for you, brother. I'm here for you. What's going on? Let's talk. Let's communicate." Even though whatever happened, I'm sorry that it happened to you. But this brother is leading his hand out because he is concerned for what this young man on the ground is going through.
That is well said. Because most of the time, when you talk to an individual, a person that says they're grown, whether they're a Christian, whether they're a Muslim, whether they're a Hindu, whether they're a Buddhist, whether they're a spiritualist, they always talk about humility,
Yeah.
looking out for others and being on the up and up. Chaz, that has left us for many, many, many years ago.
Mm.
Humility is what's called a lost art because a lot of us we don't want humility. And as this point says, knowing that you don't know everything and that
Mhm.
you're willing to learn. Chaz, most of us are not in any kind of courses. We don't have any kinds of teachings that we go to. And
Mhm.
this is why we're still stuck on that stuff that we were on like 30 years ago. Who in their right mind, man? Who in their right mind would live a life and not be taught? I just don't understand this. But Chaz, once again, the life that we're living now is definitely immature. It's boring. Most adults should be in some kind of class where we're learning, but we don't want to do that anymore, Chaz.
Yeah, and like you said, the part that is really frustrating, and it used to not be like this years ago, but it seems like you said earlier, brother, everybody thinks that they know everything. Nobody wants to say, "I don't have the answer to that. I need to Google that, or I need to go to YouTube and look at the video and I'll get back with you." No, everybody has all the solutions, all the answers, and a lot of people, they feel embarrassed if they can't give you the answer right off because they want you to think that they got Wikipedia and Google all stacked in their head, and that's totally not the case here. And there's nothing wrong with saying you don't know things. Growth tip: age does not equal wisdom. Reflection does.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
let you take that one as I
yeah.
load one of my other pictures up.
See, we messed up on this part, Chaz, now because we think when a person gets old that they have wisdom.
Mhm.
I know a lot of old fools. We think that if a person is wise, they have gray hair and that they should know a lot. And a lot of us, we fell for the okey doke. We fell for that because we think that because we've lived a life of 60, 70, 80, 90 years, we think that that automatically ushers in wisdom. But
Mm-mm.
it doesn't usher in wisdom. All
Right.
you have to do is open your mouth and you're going to see that we have a lot of ignorant people. And I'm not coming down on no one because I'm ignorant too, to a
Right.
certain degree. But what I'm
Right.
trying to say is, in order to grow up, Chaz, we have to know that wisdom has nothing to do with how old you are.
Right.
Wisdom has to do with doing what you know is right.
Yeah.
That's what wisdom is being, when it's applied. Wisdom is doing what you know is right, not just getting older and telling people, I've been around for all these years. And we go through all the things, the trials and tribulations we went through. And the sad part about it is we haven't even learned much. We haven't learned a lot.
We have it. And like you said, the age does not equal wisdom. And a lot of us, even like some of these kids who go to college, they're 24, 25, they may have graduated, they got these good degrees. We automatically think, well, he been in college at Stanford for 4 years. That brother's sharp or that sister's sharp. That doesn't necessarily mean the case because if you look at their lives, they're constantly, like I said, getting pulled over by the police. They're constantly getting arrested. They're constantly fighting. They're constantly just catching themselves in all kind of chaos and drama. So we do need to stop that, especially like you mentioned in the African American community. We always say, I've been around this earth for 40, 50 years. Like you said, that does not mean anything. I mean, I'm glad that you're still here, but that does not mean that you're sharp. And like you said, reflection is what we need to start doing here. As we proceed to number 7, is consistency. Showing up the same way over time, not just when you're motivated. And you got to be consistent. As it says here, consistency is the key to success. You know, it's easy to show up when the car is working perfect, when you got money in your pocket, when you got a lot of food, and you got everything at your leisure. You know, it's easy to show up when you got that. But you have to show up when you don't have that much money, when you maybe got fired. You know, when things are going left or south, you still have to show up.
Yeah.
That's what I get from this talking point. What's your take on that?
Yeah, because it's so pertinent because consistency, as it says, is showing up the same way over time. As an adult, again, the title of tonight's broadcast is growing old versus growing up. That's why we keep going back to it. And we're saying we have too many childish adults. We really do, Chaz, because there's no consistency. We don't want to do what has to be done, even though it happens over time. The things that you talked about at the outset of the broadcast, mainly taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your children, taking care of your life. These are the things that has to continue over time. But see, we get to a certain age and we give up. So that's
Mm,
childish. We don't want to live anymore. We don't want to take care of ourselves anymore. All we want to do is barricade ourselves and just put the world outside. This is a sick mindset, Chaz. It's
yeah.
a dilapidated, it's a rundown, it's a terrible mindset. And I'm preaching to the people because I'm trying to get us to see that we have a lot of work to do. And Chaz, we're getting older. You would think the older we get, the more we would want to just go back to the basics. But
Right.
as I said before, and I would never forget what my auntie said, and I'm going to keep saying this every blue moon. She said, the older we get, the stupider we get. And that's true, some of
Wow.
us. Some of us do, Chaz. We really do.
Wow, well said. And I think your aunt, she was spot on with that. A lot of us. And like I said, we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers. But as we get older, like your aunt said, we get more. I would take it a step further. I would just say we get more ignorant, as the black folks say. That's what I would say as we get older. Let me go ahead and take this one off the screen here and go to our growth tip. It says, grown adults don't rely on moods to build their lives. I talked about that. We
Yeah,
always
yeah,
got to
yeah,
be
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
good to do something. Everything has to be perfect and laid out for us to get ourselves together. And that's not always the case. There are going to be days where you're sick. There's going to be days where you can't get out of bed. There's going to be days where you're just not feeling up to par. But you say, you know what? Whatever I got to do, get me some cappuccino, get me something to get myself started. And what's your take on that?
I look at some kids sometimes and I can tell when a kid has something. Because when a kid gets something, they're bubbly, they're jubilant, they're happy, they're
Yeah.
excited. A kid, and you can look at them and say, something good has happened to you. And see, that's what should happen to a child because a child, that's how they are. They're flighty. When they get something, they're happy. When they don't, they're sad. But many of us adults are the same way.
Mm,
All you have to do is look at an adult and be around them for a long time. And if they have something, if we have something, you can tell we have something because we're happy. We want to talk. We want to
yeah.
tour with the band. We want everybody to know we got this, we got that. We are excited. Then the
Right.
next time you see us, we don't want to speak. We don't
Mm.
want to talk. We want to be left alone. And this is a mindset, Chaz, that is basically it's really backwards, you see.
Yeah.
And so this is why we're saying this growth tip, when you're grown, you don't rely on your moods to build your life. You
Yeah.
know that every day is differently, but you have to be again consistent, man. Treat people the same way, whether you feel good or not, whether you have something or not. Come
Yeah.
on, y'all.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, like you said, when we get things, like even when a person gets a brand new car, you can hear them blocks away because they gotta test out that sound system, make sure that the speakers are bumping right. All these things. Let me ask you this about the like you would say, touring with the band. Do you think social media and movies are the reason that we respond this way, or you think that's just us doing that because that's how we've always been?
I think it's all the above because I think it's natural. Now, so let me clarify it. I think it's natural when we get something that we're excited. So I never saw a person who got something was sad.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. What I'm saying is, Chaz, you can't be up one day just because you have something, and because you don't have it, you're acting a totally different way. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying. When you don't have it, when I don't have it, we still should be cordial to people. That's all I'm trying to say. So yeah, you should be happy when you get something. But don't be happy only when you get something. And when you don't have it, you feel like crap. Or when your body doesn't feel good, you don't want to be bothered and you want to argue with people. You want to be left alone. But when you're feeling good, you want to be talkative. This,
Yeah.
this stuff doesn't make sense, man.
We got a comment that just rolled in. Sister Barbara Fires in here. She says, great job on giving this education to the people. I'm learning day by day how I can better version of myself. Though I continue to fall, I will also continue to be aware of myself and the changes I'm trying to make, and that is keep growing up. To become a better one, must do better by constant improvement. Well, first of all, at least this sister's being honest here. She's saying, hey, let me do some self-reflection. I'm not the best. I'm not perfect. I have issues in my own life. But she's saying that she's constantly, day by day, striving for excellence and trying to get better day by day. And she appreciates this information. You have anything on that?
Yeah, I always say this, Chaz. Every day we get an opportunity to grow because
Mhm.
someone's going to do something or someone's going to say something that's going to rub us the wrong way. But instead of us looking at those opportunities and saying, okay, I see what's going on, they're rubbing me the wrong way, I'm going to respond. We allow the moment to dictate to us. And then when it's done, we say, oh, wow, I shouldn't have done that. And I mean, that's the kind of mindset we are. I'm telling you, man, many of us need therapy. We really do. And
Mm.
I'm not putting anyone down. I'm being honest. We need therapy because our minds are screwed up. All the crap we've been through since we were little kids. And we
Yeah.
never got help with that, Chaz. And so
Mhm.
now we're just trying. This is why a lot of us adults have difficult times when it comes to growing up. Because at the age of 50 and 60 and 70, we should act more mature than kids. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't. All you got
Okay.
to do is look in our lives and look on social media, and you will see that.
That's well said. And we appreciate that sister for firing in here as always. We appreciate that comment. As we go ahead and move on to the next one here. Number 8, boundaries. Knowing what you will and will not accept from others and yourself. And this is a good one, like we have here on the screen, setting boundaries. For example, if you have kids, and they're at school, they're in the 5th or 6th grade, it's okay for them to have friends, but you need to set boundaries. You're not going to be having your friends ringing this doorbell at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, playing these video games all night. You got school the next morning. That's a boundary that you have to set. And it's not being rude. It's not being an old fart or being set in your ways. It's just called, hey, this is a boundary. If you want your kids to come over, you want your friends to come over at 3 or 4 o'clock after school or what have you. But you're not going to be having your friends ringing this doorbell all times of night. That's a boundary I would say that we need to start setting. And in fact, I accidentally misspelled it. I'm sorry about that. I just noticed it. But do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I have this to say about that. As an adult, we should all have boundaries. But here's the situation. We've never had boundaries, Shaz.
Wow.
We've never had boundaries. So people can treat us any kind of way. Our family, our friends, and even ourselves. And because we have no boundaries, we're out of control. And instead of looking
Mm.
at our lives and saying, I need to get myself together. And then we start writing down, this is what I'm going to do. In our minds, we tell ourselves that we're good, and we know we're not. So once again, we have diluted our own thinking, and so we live lives looking at other people like they're the ones who need help, when in our hearts, we know that we're the ones who need help. So we've never had boundaries because we don't know what a boundary is. We don't
Yeah.
know how to be committed to anything. We can't be committed to ourselves. We can't be committed to our children. We can't be committed to anything. We can't be committed to learning. We can't be committed to our
Wow.
mental aspirations. We can't be committed to reading. We can't be committed to studying. We can't be committed to working out. We can't be committed to doing anything. And so we have no boundaries. And this is the example that I'm trying to say. This is why adults act like children as opposed to adults because we don't have boundaries.
Yeah, and the world, brother, that we live in, society teaches us not to have boundaries. For example, there's this old saying, YOLO, you only live once. That's basically insinuating, hey, do whatever you want, get all the fun out that you can. Don't be irresponsible. Just have fun, get drunk, live crazy because you only live once. The sky's the limit is this other thing that we say here, to where don't have any boundaries, just anything goes, and just have as much fun as you can. And like I said, as adults, We should be able to say, you know what, even though society is telling us YOLO, even though society is telling us the sky's the limit, we have to have enough discipline and say, that's wrong. It's okay to have fun, but I'm not going to act like a fool because I think I only live once and stuff like that. I think that's a terrible way to think when people keep throwing those slogans out. The growth tip: saying no is a sign of maturity, not selfishness. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with saying no. Sometimes you can't do it. You can't always help someone. You can't always lend money. You can't always, be there for them. You have things you have to do. You have a life you have to live. But some people think that that's being selfish. I know that brother had $20 he could have lent me. I know he had it, but he chose not to. Or maybe that brother only needs that $20 because that's the last he can get that's going to hold him over for gas for the next couple of days. That's what saying no means. And it's not always, like I said, someone being selfish or cocky or rude.
My heart bleeds as we talk tonight about growing old versus growing up. My heart bleeds from the standpoint of we are so confused, Chaz. We are so outdated. I'm talking about us adults. These are some simple things that we should be doing, but we don't know how. So we have some psychological problems. We have some mental issues. We have some thinking issues. We have it's hard to communicate now because when the mind is damaged and tampered with, we can't grow up. Saying no is a sign of maturity. You're supposed to say no. Your children should see you saying no to others so that when they see that you're an adult and that you don't go in, give in. But most of us allow our family members to treat us any kind of way. And this is why we are the way we are, because we have more ties to people than we do to our own silly selves.
That was well said. As we go on to number 9 here, financial responsibility, managing money wisely, planning and avoidance reckless spending. And I talked about myself for the last couple of weeks on this, and I've been honest. Having extra money does not always mean that you got to go out to the mall. You got to go to Amazon. You got to go to Foot Locker. Sometimes having extra money just means, hey, I got a little extra in the bank. I'm going to save it for a rainy day. The tires may blow out. Unexpected bill may come in the mail. Anything can happen. But see, when we work all this overtime, we get all this extra money. It's burning a hole in our pocket, bro. We got to go out and spend it. We got to go in the store. We got to go and let that money get out of our pockets because we're so obsessed with spending and living a crazy lifestyle that we're afraid to save. And that reckless spending is something, even though when some people say reckless, they think the millionaires where they just buying cars, 2 and 3 cars a day. No, an average person could be a reckless spender. All you got to do is look at their bank account and look at some of the overspending that they're doing. What's your take on that?
Chaz, I'm going back to what I said earlier. You show me a person that doesn't take care of themselves. You show me a person that doesn't like to read and study and research. You show me a person that has no discipline. You show me a person that doesn't care about any other person. And I'll show you a person who is financially irresponsible. I'll show you a person who doesn't know how to manage money. I'll show you a person who doesn't care about planning. I'll show you a person who always is in debt. The bottom line is a mature person knows the limit. They know that these amount of dollars come in and these amount of dollars have to go out. So why would the amount of dollars that come in be more than the amount of dollars that the dollars that go out rather be more than the dollars that come in? This shows financial irresponsibility, and a lot of us don't want to accept it, but this is where many of us are. And I'm glad you brought that up about the so-called millionaires and billionaires, because this is an epidemic that has hit all of us. It's not just them, because we don't know how to manage, Chaz, and we
Yeah.
have a problem with that. And that's what children are the ones who don't know how to manage. You give a child $1 or 2 or 3, they're going to spend it in a heartbeat. But
Yeah.
you give an adult money and they spend it before it's even, that is crazy if you ask me.
Yeah, and brother, I hate to say that, but like I said, us regular people, all it has to take, like I said, is for us to get that extra overtime at that job, and we have to, even though we may have had our bills caught up, we have to go out and spend that money, and that's a shame and a disgrace where we all actually just have to go out and start spending galore. Growth tip: if you're grown, your money should reflect it. Yeah, if we're grown, we can spend money. But as a grown 30 or 40-year-old, I don't think that we should be going to Toys R Us or Chuck E. Cheese buying action figures. That's kind of, I would say, immature. As a grown adult, we shouldn't be, living like that because 9 times out of 10, I'm not degrading anybody who does that. But wouldn't you say that a grown adult who collects action figures, maybe something could be a little bit off there?
Well, Chaz, here's what I want to say. If let's go back to what you said earlier. If you're grown, you should be able to right now, you should be able to say you're going to go to Detroit because you have X amount of dollars in the bank because you
Right,
know that you've been saving. You
right,
should be able to go say, you know what? I'm going to go to Detroit just because I want to go. I want to go visit some people.
right,
But we don't have that kind of money. We're living from paycheck to paycheck. And I
right.
want to say one more thing and I'll let you take it back. Here's the problem. You mentioned something that was profound when you said that we have the ideology of you only live once. That's
Mhm.
not true.
Yeah,
You live every day, you see. We live every day. But in our minds, we say we only live once. So go for all the gusto, the sky's the limit. But
right.
instead of looking at how we live every day, that's problematic. And that's why I'm telling you now, Chaz, the older I get, the least friends that I get.
Mm,
Because it's hard, man. You don't understand. It's difficult to talk to people when these people are kids,
yeah,
even though you're trying to be serious. And I'm not trying to be hubris. I'm not trying to be arrogant. It's difficult to talk to people, man. It's like pulling teeth because
yeah,
you can't get through to them because they don't understand, man, that these are the things that you and I and all of us adults should be on this thing. We should have a million comments coming through. But you
yeah.
see, we hide behind our cell phones, man, because we're kids. That's what a kid will do, hide behind the cell phone and won't admit that we need help.
Brother, forgive me. I should have did this earlier. Give me about a couple seconds. I need to get this computer charger. It's in my next room. Just give me a couple seconds. You want to
Okay,
leave
and
this?
I'll keep talking while you get the charger then.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, brother.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at Adults Only, and tonight's broadcast is basically about growing old versus growing up. And we definitely are talking tonight about how we want us all to grow up. We're begging you, we're imploring with you, we're pleading with you, we're encouraging you to grow up, and myself included. And I don't mean everything is going to be so serious that you can't have fun. We're not talking about that. But I think you all know what I'm talking about and what Chaz is talking about because a lot of us are too old to be acting like little children. That's
Yeah.
all we're saying. We
Yeah.
need to set an example so these kids can see an adult in the house. Our nieces and nephews can see an adult in the house. But what happens? Little girls and little boys are always on the phone, always on
Mm,
social media, always talking. In high school, that's all we did was get on the phone and run our mouths. You got a lot of big girls now. You got a lot of big boys now. And this
yeah.
is why we are in the situation we're in. We don't know how to sit back and say, I'm grown. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. And like I said, brother, I apologize. I should have had that charger, but I got it now. But you were just talking about it. Like you said, we always run in our mouths. We always got all this stuff to say, but we have to grow up because, like you said, if we don't, we're going to be stuck in this immature way. And a lot of people is probably not going to want to deal with us. Number 10, self reflection. Looking honestly at your behavior to identify areas to improve. Now,
Oh
I'm
boy.
trying to load up this little picture here that I got. This brother seems like he's writing. He's writing something. Now, what I get from this picture, he's writing something about his life. He's thinking of ways on how to get better. In fact, you see some books in the background. He's reading something. All these ways he's self reflecting to say, you know what? I'm not the best man that I could be, but these are ways on how I can improve myself to be better as a young man. Shout out to this brother.
Self reflection, looking honestly. That's the part. Looking honestly at your behavior to identify areas to improve. Every one of us as adults have areas we should be improving in. But
Mhm.
here's the problem with all of this, a lot of us won't even try. We don't
Mm.
we don't sit down and say, I know I have a problem with X. I know I have a problem with Y. I know I have a problem with Z. I'm gonna take them three and I'm gonna work on each one. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna go back and look at how I've been doing. We're not gonna write down, and that's why I was doing like that when you were talking,
I know.
because we're not gonna do that, Chaz.
Yeah.
We're going to sit back, look on a cell phone, eat food, go to work, watch TV, lay around. This is what we're going to do. Talk on the cell phone, scroll constantly on social media, think
Yeah.
with the people we're looking at, trying to
Yeah.
keep up to date with everything that's on social media, want to
Yeah.
have the latest fads, want to
Yeah.
wear the latest fashions, want to say the latest things. We have some sick people, and I don't care if people say about me that tonight it's like I'm coming down, but I need to come down on all of us, me included, because Chaz, we're too old for this and it's
Yeah.
out of control. And it seems like we're just accepting it and gonna want to talk about our ancestors starting
Well,
February the 1st, gonna want to talk about Black History Month like we want to give up facts when we're just little children.
and here's the thing, brother, I wanted to highlight, and I know I do this a lot, but I wanted to highlight where it says looking honestly at your behavior, because it's easy for us to sit back and criticize our nephews, criticize our cousins, criticize our grandmas, our aunties, our nieces. It's easy for us to do that, in which there are aunties and stuff may be wrong, but we need to look at our own behavior because we are some messed up people, myself included. We have some serious problems going on, but we love to point the finger in our relatives. They may do some things that are stupid and boneheaded. I agree. We all do things, but it's a problem when we aren't looking at ourselves and coming down on ourselves. We're so quick to come down on other people.
And let me give you a word too that you can put in your vocabulary in your dictionary. The word is called solipsism. This is a person who only thinks about themselves. Everything they see is from their own vantage point. You know, everything they do is about them. Now, they don't say it, but they do it. They're so self centered, man. And
Yeah.
that's the problem with us today. We're all so self centered. We don't have time to improve because, as you mentioned earlier, we're too busy looking at other people's behavior as opposed to our own.
Well said. Now, the growth tip for this one, it is the growth starts when the excuses end. You know, it's not always your auntie's fault that you didn't get to graduate from school. It's not always your uncle's fault that you missed the bus for school. You know, we have to start saying, I didn't get my butt up on time to get that bus. You know, these things in life, sometimes it is our fault. And like I keep going to, a lot of people may say, well, is this guy black? He keeps coming down on the police, arresting his own color. But the excuses have to stop when we say, you know what? When you look at a video on the news and you see that this brother, he got pulled over, but he gave the cop the middle finger. He start degrading the cop and, you know, start doing things. And then we find out, which I don't agree, the cop shot the man who shot the sister. I don't agree with that. But brother, some of this can be avoided if we stop treating them like that when they pull us over, no matter who's in the wrong. But the excuse is always, that cop is wrong. He needs 50 years. He needs to suspend his license and things like that.
And this is why we can't have this discussion because we're so busy making excuses with everything. And some of us African Americans, we make excuses for everything is everybody else's fault. Now we're not doing a show on racism because we know that's the boogeyman in the house. You know,
Right.
that's the boogeyman under the bed. That's the elephant in the room. That's never going to end. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about practical things that we can do. For example, you can go and work out and help your own self out like an adult. But nope, you're going to complain about your toe hurt, your head hurt, you didn't get up on time, your car wouldn't start. But you're going to do everything else you want to do. And when the people come and tell you that you got to do something now, you're feeling sorry for yourself. When the bottom line is, we're just too immature, Chaz. We're just too immature.
Yeah, we really are. And that was a good points, like you said, about the exercise thing. We have to stop making excuses and get our butts up and get going because these bodies are going to get worse if we don't do anything to try to fight this stuff off. Number 11, respect for time, valuing your time and the time of others. I'll let you take that one and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, because time is important. We always say time is of the essence. That's a little saying. But Chaz, we don't look at time like that. And I think some people say make the most of your time. We say these kinds of things because they sound good to the ears. But look at what we're doing with our time. We're sleeping, we're watching TV, we're doing things that we shouldn't do. We're on the phone. We're scrolling. We're fighting. We're arguing. We're bickering. We're doing all types of things, Chaz, but we don't value our time. If we knew that time was very valuable, as we often say, oh, time is valuable, we wouldn't be doing what we be doing. We wouldn't do that. So I think we're hypocrites and we're liars because we know that time is winding up, is what I'm telling you. And so
Oh,
because we know that time is winding up, we're going to live any kind of way hoping for the best because we don't want to face the inevitable, which is death. That's what it boils down to. That's what it boils down to, Chaz. That's when, listen, when you get older, that's something on your mind every now and then, and it scares you. Your knees are
yeah,
shaking because
yeah,
you didn't lie all these years talking about where you're gonna go, and now you don't know for sure. See, and now you're scared. So you're scared now. So you're gonna live like a heathen now because you're
yeah.
scared.
Yeah, and like I said, brother, now you could have dropped the mic on that, but that was excellent, that rant that you went on. But we do need to start valuing our time more, like you said, instead of scrolling, instead of fighting, all those things that you mentioned, we have to start putting this stuff. Because, like you said, eventually, even when you're young, here's the thing. Sometimes I get on social media and I see a couple of my friends I used to go to school with, brother, they died, and this was just mysteriously 25, 30. See, people think death always has to be when you're 70 or 80 or 90, when your health is really failing you. Death can happen at any moment. And it's a shocker because, especially when you're 30 or 40, nobody saw that coming. So that's why we keep saying value your time. You don't know when it can happen. Heck, it can happen to me before I get off this broadcast. But the point is, go ahead.
We got to do something. I know we've done it before, but we have to dig that up again. We got to do
Okay.
something on death because Chaz, it's so much to say about that, and I want to expose all of us because I think most of us are hypocrites when it comes to death. We we,
Yeah.
we just talk about it, but we really scared of it.
Yeah, I think we do too. We do need to do something about that. We got 3 more minutes here. Let me go ahead and find the next tip. It says the growth tip: chronic lateness and procrastination signal irresponsibility. Yeah, and we
Mhm.
always do that. I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll go sign that paperwork at that doctor's office next week. Always putting it off instead of saying, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me now. Let me get my butt up in gear, get off this couch, and go and do it now. Now, don't get me wrong. We do have times when we get tired, we're lazy. But brother, this is a pattern to where 80% of the time we're always procrastinating. We're never wanting to take care of things that we should. And that's the problem that I think most of America has. What's your take on that?
I'm gonna say this, Chaz, and we're gonna let's next week. Let's start with this one because there's so much more to say about this one, and I don't want to rush it because I got a lot to say about this. But I'm only gonna say about a 30 seconds worth, and we'll talk about it next week. That'll be our number one point when we come back. This growth tip about chronic lateness and procrastination. It signals irresponsibility. Chaz, there's something wrong with us.
Yeah,
When I say us, there's something wrong with us adults.
yeah,
We cannot, we will not be on time to save our life. When
yeah,
there's
yeah.
always an excuse, that's a sign of immaturity. And then we play games with ourselves and we be on time one time and say, woo, I'm so glad I stopped that. And then we go back to the same thing the very next time.
Right.
We got some serious problems, Shaz, that has to be dealt with. So please stop right here and let's come back with this growth tip. And we apologize now, but let's turn this into Black History Month, next week when we come back. Let's put all these into some kind of fashion to where we're talking about how these tips affected our ancestors because a lot of them weren't. They had to be grown, Chaz. They
Yeah,
had to grow up. But
yeah,
us chumps today, us chumpettes today, we play too much, man. We don't know how to be serious. I long for the day to have what we call a honest discussion with a group of grown people, without jokes, without laughter, without foolishness, without frivolity. Just a serious conversation about what I need to do
yeah.
personally to make myself better without lying. We can't have that discussion, Chaz.
Yeah, a lot of people, brother, if you were to put that on your social media feed and say, I'm going to do this next week at 9 o'clock or whatever, you probably wouldn't get that many people because, like you said, we got the opposite mindset. We want to have fun, talk loud, play cards, and, do all these things. But I appreciate you for having me on here. The time is winding up. Tonight was an interesting part 3 of growing up versus growing old. Some of the points that hit home that we talked about: financial responsibility, always having to spend when we get extra money. You know, that's no way to be. Setting boundaries, you know, saying, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. You know, I used to, but as a grown man or a grown woman, I'm not doing this anymore. Self-reflection, you know, always pointing the finger at others, but not looking at yourself, saying, I'm the one that did this. I need to become better. I'm the one that's causing all this ruckus and chaos. And like this brother said, next week, we're going to have a different show for you guys here, but we do appreciate everybody that always chimes in. Sister Mashonda, she chimed in and says Shemotep. We appreciate her as always for that comment. Brother, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you have any final words for the people?
I want to say to the people that even next week, we'll grab some images from our ancestors who went through so much, and we'll put up a point about growth tip, and we'll put them up on the screen. For example, we may put up W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Madam C.J. Walker, and we're going to kind of reflect as to how all these points relate to them. I feel sorry for us, Chaz. I feel sorry for us as a people. I really want us to do better. I know we can do better, but I think that a lot of us are at the point in our lives now where you can't tell them anything. I can't tell them anything. They can't tell you anything. They can't tell me anything. We're stuck on stupid, Chaz. And it's
Could
going to
that
be a
be
shame for us to leave this earth. It's a shame for us to leave this earth in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and etc and having and act like a kid, act like a little baby.
Yeah.
This is sad, man. This is a sad broadcast, but we can do better. That's all I can say. And I want to encourage those who say, y'all spoke to my heart. Don't talk about it, be about it.
And I was just going to ask you real quick, brother, before you log off. Would you say, like you just said, some of these people, you can't tell them anything? Would you say that the damage has already been done?
I think in many instances, and see, this is the thing that we don't want to hear because most stories have a happy ending, but I'm going to be honest tonight. A lot of us are too far gone, Chaz. And some
Wow.
of us, we really want to. I know in our hearts, we really want to. But a lot of us are too far gone. We're not interested in self reflection or self growth. We're not interested in being the better person. We need somebody else to help us. We need somebody to motivate us. We don't have it coming from within. We have not the confidence, man. We have not the self reliance. See, and so we'll just talk and say things that make our own selves feel good. But the
Right.
bottom line is, we're going to always be in this situation. Those of us who know in our heart we're not interested in changing.
Well said, brother. Like I said, I appreciate you for having me on. We appreciate you guys for staying with us for these extra 2 minutes. But please come back next week. If you didn't watch this one right live, watch it on the playback. Give us a comment. We'll be happy to see any new comments that we get. And brother, once again, I appreciate you for having me on, and I hope to see you guys back here next week.